The final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Adequate. Our ongoing mission, until we are cancelled and replaced by something far superior, to review every episode and movie of Star Trek in existence, to seek out new guests and make them very uncomfortable, to boldly go where many other Star Trek based YouTube channels have gone before. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Trekking Up North. I am one of your hosts, Captain Goodwill, and joining me as ever is the delectable Geesian from the planet Hog. It's Science Officer Synoiz.
Hello there, it's me. I still function.
Are you fully functional?
Oh, I'm programmed in multiple techniques.
Oh, there's more than one.
All you know is in and out, just like, oh, I've
wait,
arrived.
Wait, it goes in? Anyway, how are you?
I'm good. I always feel like there's this chaotic nature in me that always wants to interrupt your opening speech. And I'm just like, and I resist, but it takes every fiber of my being to the quantum level.
One day you will do it and I will flip this table over.
You're like, oh!
Damn it! The show is over!
I've only done it uninterrupted like 60 times.
I'm going to review Babylon 5 from now on. Don't spit, said the priest.
It's don't spit. Wow. Okay. Oh God, I hear it a lot, but never from you. But it's. Do you think for April Fool's Day we should do a Babylon 5 review or something, or like I don't know? There's just,
do you know what?
There's this vibe I think we need to do of just me being like, it's amazing, I love it.
You are not going to believe this. You are not going to believe this.
Okay.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Is Tuesday the 1st. The day we upload Trekking Up North.
Oh no.
Is April Fool's Day.
We're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to do something for April Fool's Day.
We are gonna have to do something.
And the interesting thing is, how many minutes are you in Search for Trek going to be through Star Trek: The Motion Picture by then? Are we going to be up to something other than darkness?
For those that don't know, after 50 years of development and planning and many meetings, the Search for Trek has officially launched its first series, where myself, Mark Cartier, and Isaac Brown are reviewing Star Trek: The Motion Picture 1 minute at a time. And you're probably going, Captain Goodwill, what? You heard right. Every single minute of Star Trek: The Motion Picture is heavily reviewed, dissected, analysed, and then judged upon by the three gentlemen. And we make 1 minute last easily 15 to 20. That's right, ladies. The three of us can go for at least a minute. We are.
I just love that you sat down and actively made the decision of how can we make the motion picture feel longer. You know, which is a sentiment that nobody has ever put forward.
Not only that, we sat down, we thought, how could we make this film last at least 4 years, right? At least 4 years. And then Mark went, we shall review the director's cut. Now, the director's cut is longer. And all I'm saying is, the first episode, which I encourage you all to go down in the link below after this video and watch, is as exciting as darkness can get. We literally review.
That's the
nothing.
tagline for the channel. As exciting as darkness can get.
We literally review a void. That is all we do. we honestly, guys, wait until you get to where we actually see something on the screen. We collectively lose our pants at that. But no, please go check it out, because as Graham pointed out when I was promoting this the other day, the dry dock scene alone is easily going to be 5 to 6 weeks, and I am going to be there for every single goddamn minute, and I really can't wait.
It's just the idea of, I'm just like, how are you going to survive the rest of the picture after post-nut clarity kicks in? That's the big concern for me after the dry dock.
That is why we're doing it every week. That is why we are doing it every week. It gives me a chance to reload and re-enter the fray. So that could be the after
Words
show.
I never expected to hear spoken on a Star Trek podcast.
1 minute at a time. The post-nut clarity show. It's like the after show, but with more sense.
So, why are we actually here today? Because I've totally forgotten.
We are here because last week the Double Wheel of Honor fell on a Star Trek Voyager episode. We successfully passed a challenge given to us by your great friend Nathan to name 3 things, I believe, about Bajoran earrings, and we got 5 because we are so good at Star Trek Deep Space Nine. We just didn't stop at 3. We got 5, and we were so goddamn cocky. We won a memory alpha, and we went, got that, got that, got that, got that, got that, because. So,
I mean, I did suggest that they could be weaponized, and then kind of got vindicated by Memory Alpha because one of them is used to try and assassinate Ducat. So, yeah, it is kind of like, okay, we found probably more than he intended as the answer, I think.
We did. So, because we passed the challenge, we span on the Double Wheel of Honor, and we landed on Voyager's episode.
Look, we've got Kez judging you up there.
Kez is judging me. She's like, you are in the wrong uniform. I look good. However, before we get into reviewing the gift, I do believe, Science Officer Synoiz, we have received another challenge. Am I wrong?
We have received another challenge. I have already done this. I watched this before the show because I can't hear it when we do this, but you have no idea what this challenge is. So, and it's a doozy. So let's see who has our challenge for this week and what it is.
Computer, bring up the incoming transmission.
Incoming transmission.
Hi, Sean!
Hi, Will. Hi, Graham. How are you? Okay, so, you want a challenge, do you? Well, let's see. You each need to say 10 nice things different about the Ocampans. Good luck.
See what I mean? I told you, we're spinning on the bad wheel today.
Shit. Is there even 10
obviously
things about
that,
Ocampans?
I get with 10 things each, man. I'm just like going, wow.
20 things, Sean. Are you psychotic?
This is Sean. That was the lovely Sean Ferrick from Trek Culture who has challenged us. He looks really good after a weekend of cruising, which is I usually look a lot more tired, but
He was on a boat for a week. The lucky. He's just come back from Star Trek: The Cruise. He is a suntanned Superman. He has spent a week sipping cocktails on a beach surrounded by Trekkies, and he decided to return to work and punish us like the disgusting sadist that he is. However, I do encourage you to also.
He woke up this morning and chose violence. That's what that challenge is.
He didn't just choose violence. He chose destruction, chaos, and death. Okay, so we need to find 20 nice things to say about the Ocampans.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I think we need to take the time limit off this because I don't even think we can list 10 things in a minute, even if we knew what they were off the top of our heads. So
who wants to go first?
Who wants to fail first?
I'm going to see if I've got a coin. Bear with me. I have a coin somewhere.
Do you have a coin?
Because I have. Why do I never have money? Oh,
I think now that physical currency is getting taken away, maybe we should just throw our credit card up in the air and see what side it lands on.
I've locked mine away, dear boy. I have a 1982p 2p, tuppence, tuppence. Oh, look,
Tuppence a pound.
it's got our queen,
Oh,
R.I.P.
Wallis.
Wallis, R.I.P. Liz, up there with the Angles and Princess Di, who's a bit pissed off
Oh,
for you.
don't worry. Everything's going great in your absence.
She'd have what words with you though, Liz, because you know you murdered her. Right. Heads, Science Officer Synoiz go first. Tails, I go first. Are we ready?
It's usually me with head, isn't it? Huh. Carry on.
I thought you were more of a Tails guy.
Hey, I can take tail, I can take head. It's both. I'm the gift that keeps giving. Speaking of this episode.
Programmed in multiple techniques. Right. It's heads.
Oh,
It's
okay,
heads. Well, Liz got you. Right, okay.
Okay.
10 nice things about the O'Compans. Go.
Okay, they've got nice haircuts. Nice haircuts. They're a very sort of technologically advanced society. They can only actually breed once in their life, so they're not going to be obsessed with sex all the time. They have a decent social structure. They have psychic powers. Psychic powers, and they. That's that.
Hang on.
My
speaker's died.
Oh, has it? Okay, well, I'll
Hang
keep going
on.
anyway.
There we go.
Just
Right, yeah.
I'm saying loads of interesting things. Okay, they've got that. They've got Do they have music?
6, 5, 6,
5, I think.
5.
5.
Right.
Yeah, they've got. Oh, they have a religious background that's like seems quite spiritual and lovely. Kez is one, and Kez is one of my favorite characters. They aren't mean to nonces. I don't know if that's a good thing. Okay, but either way, space nonces, they're fine with them, I think. Oh no, they didn't like Neelix, so they're against nonces. Yeah, they're great. And they're a caring people, and they work well with other species. And they have psychic power. No, I've done psychic powers, but they the other ones embrace their psychic powers and embrace it being advanced.
10. Right. First of all, you bastard.
Now I fucked you up for everything.
You bastard, because you took great hair.
Twice, technically.
Okay.
Okay.
You need to keep count for this. Are we ready?
Okay, right, okay.
Okay. They have amazing earlobes.
Mm-hmm. Those are
They
good ears.
have a limited amount of lifespan, so they make the most out of their time in this universe.
They can tolerate Britain.
They live underground in a peaceful society.
Okay. That's a kind of neutral one, but yeah, okay.
No, they do. They live underground in a peaceful society.
Yeah.
They cohabited with an alien race that came from another galaxy that accidentally destroyed their atmosphere. So they didn't seek vengeance. They cohabited with.
They're forgiving.
Caretaker.
They're a forgiving species.
They are forgiving. They are eager to learn new things and new cultures.
Yeah.
So that's 5. Kess, for some reason, tolerates Neelix, which shows how kind and caring and tolerable she is when it comes to an annoying hairy Talaxian.
I think we've already got that in my one about them with other species.
Damn it.
I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
Stuff
So
with her and the
5.
Doctor. Her and the Doctor.
She's. Oh no. What could I say about the Doctor?
They're like a sort of she picked
She
up
found
medicine.
a father figure. She found a father figure within the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
She single-handedly started up a botanical garden on Voyager to help with food rationing.
Resourceful.
Yeah. She stayed away from Tom Paris.
Yep. Okay. Yep. We're doing that.
We're definitely doing that. She grew her hair out. Her her hair out, making her already amazing do even more fabulous, as we see above right there. That's 7 of 9. Ignore the bald patch.
Can you justify the distinctness of that statement to they have good hair?
Yes, because she had good hair.
No, just leave it there. Okay, yeah, that's
She
fine.
had good hair, and then she made it better. She enhanced it.
Yeah, okay. See, I got they had good hair, and they got better hair. Okay, there we
They've
go.
got better hair. How many have I got?
9.
9?
I need one more.
Oh my god.
One more, man.
Oh my god. They have a capacity to evolve beyond their physical limitations.
Hey, there we go. That's
Yes!
And Sean, if you argue, I've seen your ups and downs for section 31. We didn't even start scraping the barrel there.
He came in.
Well, the lighting was nice.
He came in with his sexy nightgown and his sexy coif and his green screen, and he thought, I'm gonna screw them. I am gonna screw them so hard. However, 'twas us that did the screwing, Mr. Ferrick, and we won. Therefore, we get to spin on a double wheel of honor.
There we go.
I feel
Okay,
quite
yeah,
happy.
well, that's done. That means at the end of the episode,
Oh.
we will be spinning on the Dabo Wheel of Honor that contains 23 of our favourite episodes of Trek.
I need a
currently.
post-nut cigarette now. I feel so proud.
I love how much we just scraped the barrel there. But yes, those are all lovely things. Because there's so many bad things I can think about, but I don't, obviously not allowed to say any of them. Like,
That was a struggle, man. That was a real struggle. But thank you very much to Sean Ferrick from Trek Culture. Next week, we have got Top Grumps' very own Chris from Nerdy Up North setting us a challenge. So stay tuned for that one. In the meantime, we are here, of course, to review The Gift from Star Trek Voyager's Season 4. This was episode 2 in Season 4 after the two-parter climax from Season 3 into Season 4, where we get 7 of 9, we get the introduction of the Borg, and this episode, we need to focus more on what happened in real life more than what happened within the episode, because Jennifer Lynn, it wasn't really well documented at the time what had been going on with Jennifer Lynn. Naturally, because respectfully she wanted to keep it quiet, which I can absolutely understand, but it did allow the rumour mill to spin rather hard. Rumours that she was sacked, that it was a choice, and that the writers wanted to get rid of her because there was too many characters, there was not enough budget, and etc. etc. However, it wasn't until 2020 when Ben Robinson was co-authoring a Voyager companion book that newer interviews, over 30 interviews with Voyager crew and cast, that it came to light as to why Jennifer Lynn left Star Trek, and it is quite sad. But we'll get into the actual synopsis of the episode, because the synopsis of the breakdown of this episode is, obviously Voyager is still recovering from traveling through Borg space. They've got a lot of integrated Borg technology in the ship. They can't go to warp. They're still in Borg space. They have got 7 of 9 regenerating in an alcove, and they are in a bit of a conundrum. They don't know what to do, really. They're sort of in limbo with everything. They need to remove this Borg technology, but they can't, and they need to basically think of what are they going to do with 7 of 9, and what choices will they have to make in regards to, do they keep her, do they let her go back to the collective? What? This is a good, when it comes to 7 of 9's arc, this is a good moral episode for Janeway, again, because ultimately it is Janeway's decision to decide the fate of 7 of 9 and what her future, essentially what the future holds for this Borg drone.
Now the thing is, the reason I put this in the Dabo Wheel of Honor is simply because it's a great episode to talk about, and it's a great episode for Kez, even though it's her final one, and it's a great episode for Seven of Nine, not in a good way, but in a kind of, it demonstrates the incredible acting ability, and also it's like really essential to her arc because this is essentially the beginning of Seven of Nine in terms of
Yes.
Voyager. But like, this is an episode that's really strange because I can't view it normally anymore. I can't view it without a lot of subtext put against it because
Yeah.
it's a very difficult episode. This is one of these ones where you go, wow, Janeway is no, Janeway can be pretty nasty, like in
Yeah.
terms of like in this episode where it's and the subtext in this episode is the idea of like it can be likened to stuff like conversion therapy or that
Yeah.
other people deciding what's better for you, and you have to wonder where Janeway's reasoning lies. Like
Yeah.
because Seven literally says, "Hey, I am totally fine to die, or I'm totally fine to be dropped off on a planet with a transmitter so they can pick me back up again and reassimilate me." And Janeway just doesn't give a reason. She just goes, "No, no, we
Yeah.
won't be doing that."
Yeah.
And it is, and it's brutal, and there's so much in like to there's so much allegory we can put to this, like whether we're talking about sort of parents sort of like not believing their children are trans or forcing identities upon them or like forcing or the other way around where it's like forcing medical procedures onto people that don't really know what's going on or
Yeah.
deliberately don't want it, uh, as well as things like conversion therapy when we get to sort of like LGBT plus people, and how terrifying that is. The idea of going, hey, our society only accepts this, so there must be something wrong with you. So, in order to function within this society, you need to be changed, whether you like it or not. And
Yeah.
you don't get a choice in that. And it's really scary because you just wonder, like, did they know when they were making this that it could be seen that way? Or did the writers genuinely just go, yep, it's fine, the Borg are the bad guys, therefore she has to be converted, whether it's painful or not?
I, I mean, obviously, I'm going to jump straight into this question,
Mm.
and I will ask. I'll get your answer first. Do you think Janeway was right in giving the go-ahead to remove Seven's Borg implants and not allowing her the right to either go back to the collective or die?
I'd say I'd say she wasn't right. If I'm going to be honest, like one thing we've got to think about the future of these characters because
Yeah.
the sorry if I go on a bit here, but like for me the main plot of this episode is two characters who have had to change in order to fit in with Voyager. So you have Kez who's basically willingly come into this with Neelix, and she's kind of gone, "Oh, I'm going to change my way of life. I'm going to learn how to be helpful in sick bay. I'm going to do all of this and stuff, and I'm going to, like, I'm going to change my life in order to fit in with these people, in order to fit in with their way of life."
Yeah.
And she's kind of been accepted because she's kind of, you could say it's like Stockholm syndrome,
Yeah.
that she's kind of, oh, this is fine. And then Seven, who is totally resisting it, and it's being forced upon them rather than them gradually going, oh, well, to fit in, I have to do it. But the thing is that what we see in the future is Seven of Nine never regrets being a Borg. She doesn't have episodes later on where she's just like, oh, oh, that was awful and stuff. Her entire arc is her just surviving being human because that's the only choice she has. It's her learning to cope with the new life she's got, not actually going, hey, this is better than what I had, which is an interesting point. And then with Cass, what we see in the episode Fury, where she comes back, she learns to be incredibly embittered by the fact that she's gone, hey, I learned how to survive in these Federation rules and
Yeah.
with these humans and whatnot. And then I went out into the wider galaxy and it hurt me. It made my life worse. I had a worse time. being away from that, and she ends up growing resentful to Voyager when she comes back. And you just kind of go like, and then the other thing with Seven is she does all of this, and then what Picard does, like the series Picard, which uh, is terrifying, is that when they get back to Earth, Starfleet are like, "Hey, now you're not allowed in because you're Borg."
Yeah,
and it's and that's the thing. She gets literally all of her identity stripped from her that she knows. She gets forced into this new way of life. And yes, she's amazing on Voyager and she learns to have relationships and stuff with the crew. But then at the end of the day, she's still not accepted, even though they're the ones who put her there. And it's. We talked last week about like Starfleet from other races' point of view being seen as actually this dodgy organization. And it's kind of good evidence for that.
Yeah. This is. It sort of makes me regret that Voyager ended when it ended. As in, they burst through the Borg sphere, or set a course for hope, that's it, done. We needed, and we get it in Picard in a very minimal way. We needed to see the ramifications. We needed. Now, I know you dunk on season 4 of Enterprise. However, what season 4 of Enterprise did
It's all
really...
the sand. It's the sand.
I know. But what season 4 of Enterprise did really well was the episode Home. And I did not put it into the double wheel of honor, and I really wish I did. We had a season 3 arc in Enterprise where the Enterprise was going after the Xindi to stop a super weapon from destroying Earth. An entire season long episode arc. Loads of questionable things were done. Archer turned into a more tame Cisco, but he became a morally grey captain. But what Enterprise did really well was they finished that season and then went straight into season 4 with a debriefing where they dissected the decisions that Archer had made all the way through season 3, where he chose to destroy the Vulcan ship, he chose to do this, he chose to do that. And what I would have loved to have seen from Voyager is, and I don't know how they would have done it. I don't know if it would have been a season 8 or they would have done a mini-series. I don't know how they would have done it. But I would have loved to have seen the debriefing and the ramifications of the actions that they had done in the Delta Quadrant, where the C&C are looking through the logs and they are examining 7 of 9 and they're examining the Doctor. Because let's not forget, we don't just have 7 of 9 and X-Borg drone that Starfleet have to wrestle with. They have the EMH. They have the Doctor, where, again, if you look at Measure of a Man, it's a similar situation. Now, how would a Starfleet dealt with 7 of 9? How did they say you cannot enter Starfleet? What when Janeway is championing 7 to join Starfleet and everything like that, and what really lets it down and what really lets New Trek down is we've had Janeway in Star Trek Prodigy, brilliant, fantastic. We've had 7 of 9 in Picard, brilliant, fantastic. We have not had Janeway and 7 of 9 together 20 years after the events, 20 years after all this had happened. Is there animosity? Is there resentment? Is there a case where Janeway in this episode essentially starts a domino effect that leads 7 of 9 to get back to the Alpha Quadrant, to be rejected by Starfleet, to become a rebel, to eventually being admitted into Starfleet, under the recommendation of Picard, however, still treat like a drone, and still, we will acknowledge you, but we will not address you by how you want to be addressed. We will address you how go on.
Which is very similar to Ad Astra Per Aspera.
Yeah.
And where we're like going, this is the Federation's failing, where as soon as it goes, hey, this is something that doesn't fit to our doctrine.
Yeah.
Then they go, oh, you're an augment. Oh, well, we can't allow them. Oh, you're a Borg. Well, we can't really allow them. Oh, you're, and it's kind of scary that it's like, that's like the dark side of the Federation. And it's like the idea of going, if you have a utopia, you need a wall around it. you know, in that kind of scary way of going like, oh, actually, yeah, that is a bit like not
it really
utopian by
shows.
principle.
It really shows up when you think about it. Like Voyager learns to adapt to its surroundings and adapt to the situation it's in, and it welcomes in these new crew members. And you know, we learn to tolerate, and we learn to, you know,
As long as they conform to Janeway, that's what this episode is all about. Like, in my opinion.
And then they get back to the Alpha Quadrant, and Starfleet go, "Thanks for all your help, but you're not allowed in Starfleet." And it's like this person.
Oh, what are they called? In World War One, we used loads of
conscription.
Pardon? Yeah, like we used loads of troops. Oh, what are they called? They've got a special name, and they were basically like, they were like
Cannon
foreign
fodder.
aid. No, they. I've totally forgotten what they're called, and I feel really dumb. I've got a mental blank on it. But
Gurkhas?
basically, they're. Pardon?
Gurkhas.
Yes, yeah, like it. That thing, and then basically they're just immediately like afterwards it's like, okay, that's fine. You know, what was it, Cameron who basically said, like, you know, David Cameron, who basically went like, oh yeah, no, let's just not honor them with what they were promised and whatnot. And it's that scary thing. It's like they're being used effectively. Like Janeway's kind of going, hey, well, I don't want to give Seven up. It's almost like, and this is the biggest reach ever, it's almost like the abortion argument, where you've got Janeway going, hey, I won't let this drone kill herself. I won't let this drone die. And I won't leave her to die on a planet with like a sort of, you know, a beacon or whatnot in case the Borg don't show up. But what I'm going to do is allow her to go through all of this pain and struggle because that's better in my moral view. And you got kind of like going, that's kind of worse. Like that's the thing. It's like, if they left her as a drone, if they hadn't have started doing these things against her will of like, you know, re-establishing her like human immune system and getting it to reject all the Borg implants and stuff, she would have operated fine. Like, yes, she would have lost the voices from her head once they moved far enough away from the Borg. But like her body would have still kept working fine. But instead, she's got these horrible headaches. She goes into neurological shock. She's like, and you're just sitting there being like, hang on, she didn't ask for any of these things, and yet she's in absolute agony for most of the process. And they're going, we're doing the right thing. And you sit there being like, is this like electroshock therapy? Is this like conversion therapy of like sort of beating the gay out of someone, you know?
And it's what you have to think is as well, the whole reason Janeway is doing this, the whole reason, 7 of 9 was a human.
Yeah.
That's it. That is it. That is the only reason that Janeway is doing it at this stage. That she is human, so therefore she belongs with her people, despite what 7 of 9 wants, demands, and begs for most of the way through this episode. Janeway goes, no, you're a human, I will make the decision, and I struggle with it.
It's a really interesting episode because, you know, when we talk about Star Trek episodes that kind of where they intended something totally different when they first aired. Like the original series has a lot of stuff where we watch it and like, obviously you've got a couple of entries in the Dabu Wheel of Shame for original series where you're just going, this aged poorly. And obviously we got Code of Honor that we joke about, but for Next Generation, that aged poorly. Yeah. But then this is one of these ones with Voyager that doesn't seem like a long time ago. It's like barely like 20 years ago. Like,
20...
It's 21?
No, it's 20... Oh my god, 1997.
Oh wow, okay, I thought this was
so
like
this is
2000.
28 years ago.
Okay, right. Scrap everything I just said. No, but like...
But still,
you are just there being like, hey, this aged badly, but then you kind of go like, I don't know how to see it anymore. Like, I don't know what I would have saw back in the day, you know, watching this, you know, because it's one of those things. It's like, you know, if we liken Seven to an immigrant or whatnot, where we go, hey, okay, so your family, because this is oh my God, sorry, we are using Star Trek here as the way to talk about a lot of social political issues in the world. That's exactly what Star Trek's for. But it's the idea of like I was at the drag show that I'm doing the commentary show for at the minute, Drag Idol, had an amazing performance, which was a joke performance, but it was basically from an amazing drag artist called Chai T, and it was about like the true monster being the immigrant.
Yeah.
And it was bringing in all of the discussion of basically, oh, they're coming over here, they're stealing our jobs and stuff like that. But the idea is, it's like they're coming over here from hardship, like they're coming over here because we're dropping bombs on their play on their
Yeah.
sort of city.
Yeah.
And then they're coming over here and they're kind of going, oh, great, well, I have to survive. But then we're kind of going, well, why can't they immediately accept everything that's in our culture and give up everything that is theirs? Like, we're sort of going, oh, they're over here practicing their religion. And be like, well, why did you expect that to change? Oh, well, they're over here now, so they should be drinking tea and talking about sort of, the football.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like going like, yeah, but that's not what their culture is. Like, they never agreed to sort of change their ways in order to get through the door. And what we see here is a very visceral kind of Janeway being like, well, if you want to be alive, if you want to be on this ship, then you've got to conform to our rules. And Seven's like, I don't want to be on the ship. I just don't want to be killed. It just didn't, I was just trying to escape this war kind of thing. I'll happily go anywhere as long as I survive. It's like, no, you have no choice. You have to stay here and you have to conform to it. It's a massive reach, but it is demonstrating that we can apply the allegory of this episode to a lot of things in real life. One thing I just quickly want to say is a lot of the things that made me reevaluate this episode was I had a very lovely chance meeting with someone who I worked with last year in my fundraising journey, who's an amazing singer and performer called Imogen Banks, who we were at the same fundraiser a couple of weeks ago, and it turned out that we're both massive Trekkies. So we were talking about Trek, and it was quite unexpected, and we started talking about Seven of Nine, and she had a very strong view on what a horrible character Seven of Nine is in terms of her arc, in terms of the fact that she is this victim throughout the whole show, and everything about her is controlled by other people. She has no agency whatsoever. And then even in Picard, they kind of go, oh, she got agency because she went rebel and she started doing her own thing. But then for the sake of the show, she has to get back in line. And that's her future, effectively. Whether it's committing to a relationship, whether it's joining Starfleet. And and you kind of sit there and be like, yeah, actually, she's a character that hasn't ever been given any agency. But I just wanted to thank Imogen for making me think about this character in a slightly different light in preparation for tackling this episode.
I think the way, if this was done with more modern sensibilities, I think the way that they could have done it is they could have allowed her to remain Borg, but integrate with the crew at their own pace. So, say for example, she could have remained a Borg for a season or two, and then Seven of Nine, under her own volition, would have made the decision to, I wish to regain more of my individuality. Like, after being cut off from the Borg collective for X amount of years, I wish to regain more of my individuality, therefore I wish to be more human. And then they could have gone through the reconstructive surgery. I think it would have been more poignant to be like, okay, you've separated me from the collective, and then they could say, we can't return you to the Borg, it's too dangerous for the rest of the crew, you can remain, and they could have just done it a little bit better, where they would, under her own time and in her own pace, she could have been, I wish to be more human. It would have further deepened the relationship she had with the Doctor if he's like, look, they could have said, right, that we can't.
It should have been her decision.
Yeah.
And it's the idea of, if they'd kind of said, like, look, okay, we can drop you off on a planet, or we have to turn you off from the collective. She'd never have agreed to turning them off from the collective, so maybe it would be a case of they put some kind of shield around the thing. But either way, they have to. I think that's the problem. It's the idea of where's the line? Because I think if they definitely weren't willing to give her up and just leave her somewhere, then they'd have to go against her wishes and go, hey, we need to cut you off from the Borg. Whether that's actually taking out her transmitter or whether that's putting some kind of shielding on Voyager that like blocks it out.
Yeah.
But it's the fact of, at least then over time, it would have been her decision
Yeah.
to become more human, or her decision to integrate more, or she may not have integrated at all. Like, she may have just stayed stagnant, but at least that's her choice, you know?
Yeah.
Like, at least that would be her agency.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it could have ended where they have an actual Borg crew member who is
Yeah.
physically and mentally Borg, but is like Hugh from the Next Generation. They think as one. They you know, they are not linked to the collective, but they are an independent drone. And I think it would have been more poignant with Unimatrix Zero and everything like that. The only, and we've just seen a clip of it there. The only other issue I have, and this is a production issue, and I point this squarely at Rick Berman. 7 of 9's costume. It is.
Yeah.
Now, all joking aside, right? All joking aside, I grew up with Star Trek since a very, very 2.5 years old, right? I have never, under any circumstances, sexualized Star Trek, thought of anyone in Star Trek in such a manner as that, because for me, they feel like an extended, for someone who didn't have much family growing up, no brothers or sisters, a grandmother and a mother and an uncle, that's it, right?
Yeah.
I saw the crew in Star Trek from the original series all the way up as an extended part of the family. So for me, it is actually more or less impossible to see people in Star Trek as that sort of thing, right? My issue is I really have a problem with the way that they dressed 7 of 9. We have no merit whatsoever for heels
it's
and tight
tone
skimpy
deaf.
costumes. Yeah.
It's tone deaf in the regards of that's what you've just said there is exactly how I feel about it. It's like when we talk about it, where, you know, we've said in the past, I'm so glad that they went for Jonathan Frakes for Riker rather than the actor who plays the outrageous O'Connor.
Yeah.
Because the outrageous O'Connor, he is so hot. Like, he was so hot to me as a kid. He's still really hot to me now. And I think it would have spoiled it. Having a character that's like that attractive in the show. And obviously it's not his fault, but it's the fact of, for me, it would have been distracting. And like you say, I see all of these characters as like my family, my friends, this comfort blanket kind of thing, rather than sort of being sexy. So the idea of Rick Berman being so
Roddenberry,
so
about
separated from stuff, to be like, we need sexy characters and this will get the punters in, and you're sitting there being like, but I don't think people see the characters that way, or at least I don't think they did, you know?
Yeah, and it's a very
even B'Elanna
90s
Torres,
thing.
who is incredibly attractive,
Yeah.
they make her into a Klingon. This is the wonder, you know, where they make her into a half Klingon. So I kind of think that makes her less attractive, I guess. But that's kind of the joy of it. So we're kind of not distracted by, you know, looks.
It just cheapens the character a lot. Like, they don't need these tight, and if that's the case, why isn't Janeway in a tight uniform? Why isn't Torres in a tight uniform? Why are no other female crew members, including Kess, in these tight, skinny thing? And this is the thing, when 7 of 9, when Jerry Ryan was taken on and introduced to 7 of 9, even, I mean, I remember the documentaries at the time, and the 30th anniversary, the 35th anniversary, where they were like, we needed to boost the ratings, therefore we brought in someone hot. And it's like, that's not, if you think, right, that to boost ratings we need some eye candy on that, you don't get Star Trek at all.
Yeah.
We
And that's
care
what
about
was so
good
scary.
characters.
That was what was so scary about it happening, because you're just like, hang on, you're in charge of this and you've done this tone deaf kind of thing. Like, but the worrying thing is, did it work? Like, because the problem is 7 of 9 is one of the best characters in Voyager. They're they possibly, well, no, the doctor's amazing. But it's that idea of just going, yeah, but I think it succeeded, but maybe not for the reasons they wanted it to, because it succeeded because Seven of Nine is so incredibly acted and adds so much to the show rather than being a pretty face, you know?
But this is the issue, because when Jerry Ryan was brought on board, there was tension between Jerry and Kate Mulgrew. And it is well documented in all these documentaries and all these interviews that there was a difficult relationship within the first year or two between Kate and Jerry, because Kate thoroughly believed that Jerry was brought on as the eye candy. And I think Jerry, all the praise to Jerry Ryan, she busted her balls to do the absolute best job that she could do. And some of the best scenes in Star Trek Voyager are Jerry Ryan scenes. The one where she remembers the drones, the assimilated people in her mind, and she plays multiple personalities. She knocks it out of the park with that. Where they find the Raven and she's regressing her memories.
Well, even comedy episodes, like the one where she has to play the Doctor playing her, is just, you know, the range that she has is phenomenal. And it's great that we kind of got more of her in Picard, and fingers crossed we'll get more of her in other, you know,
this is the thing.
future
This
franchises.
is the thing. The Nielsen ratings for streaming has recently been released, and thanks to my friend David Jones, he showed me the list of actually I'm going to bring it up right now, because this is really annoying, and I know this is a tangent, but I don't care, because we
like our tangents.
We need to hear this. So this is the Nielsen ratings for Star Trek shows and episodes, right? This is in the millions, okay? Star Trek Picard, The Last Generation, was watched by 400 million people.
Bloody hell.
400 million people around the world watched Star Trek Picard's last episode, right? The next thing close to that was Those Old Scientists and Under the Cloak of War, 395 million, right?
Bloody hell.
Now, when you compare to Star Trek Discovery's highest rated episode, Life Itself, 269 million. 130 million more people watch Star Trek Picard than Discovery. And then you get Section 31. The $90 million Star Trek movie was only watched by 170 million people across the world. And you are telling me, no one at Paramount saw that and went, maybe we should do Legacy. Not one person.
I think the interesting thing, and obviously it's difficult to do because it's spread across so many different platforms, but it'd be interesting to see how many people are watching Voyager and DS9 and original series and stuff, to be like, hey, there are tons of people watching this still. There are millions of people who are just watching DS9 now that didn't before. They're your market you should be catering to.
They need, right, Paramount need boots on the ground, okay? They need to work with Netflix, they need to work with YouTube, they need to work with themselves, but they need to attend these non-official conventions, because you guys pulled straight out of the convention circuit. So you need to go to STLV, ST Dallas, ST San Francisco, Destination Trek, and you need to speak to the fans and look and listen to what the fans. And I tell you, me and Science Officer Synoiz can tell you this for a fact. We travelled the world last year attending conventions, and both conventions, the one thing everyone was still talking about, and all the shows and the little organisations, the little what they call little slots and stuff like that. Star Trek Picard Season 3. Star Trek Picard Season 3. Star Trek Picard Season 3. Uniforms. Star Trek Picard Season 3. Everyone, a year and a half after it aired, everyone was still talking about that. And let's not forget, we had Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, we had the finale of Star Trek Discovery as a series, and not one person gave a damn. Why? Because they still wanted Star Trek Legacy. They still wanted the next generation era. And I hedge a bet that you are absolutely right. If we look at the viewing figures for all these old Star, the next generation era is still right up there with some of the most viewed Star Trek, because there is a thirst, there is a need for it, because A, in these difficult times, these shows, these are our comfort shows. B, it reminds us of a time where the future could be hopeful. There was still belief that humanity can overcome these issues. And C, you had someone who was knowledgeable, passionate, and a hardcore Star Trek fan running a Star Trek show, and nearly 2 years later people are still talking about that one series. 10 episodes, for God's sake. One season, 10 episodes, and people are still discussing it. And all the good episodes we had from Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, Discovery, Section 31, everyone still talks about Picard. Look at this layout. This is Star Trek Picard. People want it. And this is the thing. We need not just Legacy, we need Jerry Ryan, and we need Seven of Nine's character, because she needs to be front and center of Star Trek Legacy, because she deserves everything. She deserves all the attention. She deserves to have her story told. That is my rant, because my throat's going dry.
Get a drink, get some drink.
Excuse me.
But no, but it's the idea of, like, Paramount seem to be in this very insane bubble where you're just going, who are you listening to? What are you looking at to make these weird decisions? And you wonder if maybe it's because the cycle of things, and that they've put stuff in and they've been in the fucking works for like 8 years. Yeah. And therefore they're like, oh, well, we've got to release them. Like, we're seeing it with video games. We're seeing there's so many crap video games where they've been working on them for 10 years and they're terrible ideas, and nobody within that 10-year period has said, no one will want this. This is an awful idea. Why are you doing this? And then when they come out, they bomb. But then all of the other people who are doing the same thing are like, oh, well, we might as well still release it because we spent all this time on it. And you're wondering if that's what Paramount are. They're just working with decisions they made 10 years ago before they knew any better, where they were still going, hey, Enterprise failed, so that the golden era stuff will fail as well.
I mean, look, in terms of gaming, right, the last few years of gaming have been dire. Apart from Baldur's Gate 3, name me a game that came out last year that you absolutely adored and played the balls off.
Admittedly, Silent Hill 2 Remake is knocking it out the park.
Name something else.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly.
Oh, I'm going to spin on the dabble wheel of shame now.
However, you look at this year in the video games world, right? It is only March, right? I have got easily about 400 quid's worth of computer games on a list that's coming out this year. Yes, Grand Theft Auto 6, yeah, blah, 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 blah. But when they actually listen to what people want, I mean, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, right? That was cancelled by Activision in 2020 because no one wants that, no one cares. But Activision, people are playing the absolute balls off it. People are playing it online constantly. It is heavily replayed on Twitch. Yeah. Everyone loves this game. No one's interested. 5 years later, they go, yeah, maybe we should have done something with that. They announce it, and the whole internet goes fucking crazy over a 20-year-old game. This is...
It's companies need to be quicker. They need to be able to respond quicker to stuff. And you wonder, with the video game market especially, and also like the TV world, it's the idea of going, like, you need to be able to react better. Surely, with all the technology that we have nowadays, we should be able to be more nimble in terms of the creative process than we were like 30 years ago. And then with like, you know, DS9 and like Voyager and stuff, we're talking about these super fast turnarounds to get like the show done. And they're doing like, you know, a series of 26 episodes. And now it's like, hey, you get 10 episodes, but it took us like 3 years to plan for all of it and stuff. And you just go, hang on, you've got more people, more money, and like more technology now, and yet it seems to be that everything gets harder.
In terms of the television landscape, I'm going to go all nautical on your asses, right?
Oh my.
30 years ago, right? We'll just say it approximately 30 years ago, 1995 to 2000 and whatever, right? Before the digital age, right? The TV industry was like a destroyer. It was nimble. There was a quick turn rate. They could see exactly what was going on. They had Nielsen ratings. They went, that's fine. That performed that. That was good last night. We've got instant ratings, right? It is the year 2025. The television industry as a whole, with the advent of streaming services, cable services, terrestrial television, digital television, reruns, on-demand, syndication, is very much like a very over-encumbered oil tanker where it takes 5 miles to turn it around. Because yes, they've got all this technology, however, the amount of outlets that they have got that distribute this worldwide, this is why we see, especially with Netflix and American TV shows, they look at America specifically and they go, didn't really make that much. Whereas worldwide, it was critically a hit. It was a hit with viewers, because there's that much data that they have to process. It takes too much time, and the execs are still in the 30-year-old mindset of going, well, we got instant results 30 years ago. What's the instant results now? They check the US. Oh, it didn't really do that well within the first few days. Right, cancelled. Because there is so much information and data that they have to process, the executives don't give them the time to go, well, I mean, that is a great example, right? That is a great example. So Paramount Plus have given that information, right? However, Last Generation came out 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago, they probably looked at that and went, there was only 20 million people that watched it on streaming, right? However, they've looked at that now and actually, oh, well, maybe in the first year, it was actually 200 million people. Within the first month, maybe it was 150 million people. And then they watched it again. And then, do you see what I mean? So, because the executives want an answer now, they don't look at the wider picture. They don't look at the global picture. And it is so infuriating that these networks are almost analog in a digital age. And they think that the information that they get is that's gospel, and that, the Nielsen rating, well, yes, that's how many people viewed it in total, and that's it. And they go, well, actually, no, you have to look at it in the space of a week, a month, a year, to garner how many people because like I said, if you look at a good Netflix series, right, and you go, this is absolutely brilliant, and it came out 6 months ago, and you go, that was a fantastic series, it was cancelled. Because Netflix only look at the first 4 weeks or the first 3 weeks, and then they go, well, it didn't do well, so it's cancelled it. Whereas they barely fucking publicise it, they barely advertise it, you find it randomly and you go, oh, brilliant, this is fantastic, and gone. Because it didn't get the instant gratification that these analog execs want.
So you reckon it's basically like the way that we've got all these ways of measuring stuff, but then they're not quite accurate enough, or they're not quite
There's too much data for them to process. There is too much data for them to process instantaneously. They look at one source of data and that's it. They don't look at the global. They purely look at the domestic. So they go, in America, it did this, right? So you look at that, right? And that's Paramount Plus global. If you look at, say, the domestic side of it for the United States, I lay you a bet that list is completely turned upside down. I lay you a bet Section 31 is higher than a Picard episode. But when you look at it globally like that, Section 31 right at the bottom, Discovery beats it, Strange New Worlds beats it, Star Trek Picard beats it. They don't look at, and it's just, it is infuriating because the TV industry does this, the movie industry does this, the games industry does this. They look at one source of information without embracing all the data from around the world and then make an informed decision. Sorry, Another rant is
I'm
over.
gonna have to put us back to the actual talking about the episode.
We've covered
I
7
hope-
of 9. We
I
have
hope that
covered
you've
7 of 9, yeah.
enjoyed that rant about the state of everything at the minute. But it's to go back to talking about the episode, though. It's like, so we've talked about 7 and 9. We've talked about her lack of agency and how she is. Let's talk about the other. Well, the other character in this is obviously Kez.
Yeah.
And this is Kez's final episode. Now, do you want to go into what you were saying earlier about like why the actress had to leave the show?
So, this was 96, 97.
Hold on, your voice has started getting a bit weird.
Can you hear me?
Yes, but I don't know if it's on the recording or if it's like this, but you're starting to sound like an alien. It's like warbling.
Am I
Maybe-
starting to sound like an alien?
Hold on. Hello?
Hello, hello.
Oh,
hello.
it's only one of my headphones then.
Oh, good. I thought we were going to have a technical issue there. I don't have the call screen loaded up.
You sound like an
Right.
alien on this one. I'll take that out.
Have you put it on Talaxian?
It genuinely sounds like, you know, when they have that warbly alien thing where they have like this sort of blah, 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 and they put a lot of echo on.
Right. So,
Oh, you're fine now. You're fine now. Right, okay.
Season-
It was just
season-
weird for a bit.
season 4 was 97, 1998. Okay. Now, there was a lot of rumors at the time when it came to the introduction of a new character. And of course, Paramount's budgets being as they were at the time, they only have enough budget for a certain set of characters. And the concern came up to the writing room that we had too many characters on the roster. So the prevailing theory is that 2 characters at the time were on the chopping block for this season. Kes and Harry Kim. They were both on the chopping block, and the decision was made. This is not gospel. This was the prevailing theory / rumor, because it was very tight-lipped at the time. The prevailing theory was they got rid of Kes because the writers were frustrated at the lack of development of the character and the fact that they'd just introduced 7 of 9, a female character, that having 2 good-looking female characters on a show would be too much. So the decision was made to sacrifice Kes over Harry Kim, so they had a balanced roster of characters. Now, I
What a
won't...
mistake that was, because Harry Kim's character development is just, wow. It just,
I
just-
won't...
yeah.
Yeah.
Queen, give us nothing.
I won't go too much into Jennifer Lynn's mental health issues. Those are documented, and as someone who suffers from mental health issues, the last thing you want someone to do is discuss them in graphic detail. However, the actual story was, and this only came out in 2020 when Ben Robinson co-authored a book about Voyager. They did 30 new interviews with cast and crew, and the story was that obviously they had to make a cut. The writers didn't want to make a cut, but there was only enough budget for a certain amount of characters. And yes, Harry Kim, Garrett Wang's character, was one of those characters considered, as well as Kes, and 7 of 9.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Jennifer Lynn struggled with mental health during the filming of Star Trek Voyager, and it did have an impact on her performance and the ability to carry out the work, turning up for call, staying, the days when you were supposed to be on set, etc., etc. Again, won't go into it. None of them wanted to let her go, but the decision was made that it had to be Jennifer because of the struggles, because of what she was suffering from. It prevented the writers from thoroughly exploring and developing Kes as a well-rounded character, because they wanted her around for the entire run of Voyager. They wanted her there, and unfortunately it did not materialize that way, and the decision was made that Kes's character would be written out of the series. And yes, it was abrupt. You know, anyone can say it was an abrupt departure from the show. And Jennifer did make a return in, obviously, Fury in a later Voyager episode, but it goes to show that the prevailing issue with Jennifer Lynn was she suffered so badly with mental health, but when people approached her and asked her if she wanted help, if she wanted support, not as a company or anything like that, as friends, as people who care about her, and she did what all of us who suffer mental health do: kept quiet, kept it bottled up, and kept herself reserved and shut herself outside. And that makes it difficult when you are on a very tight production schedule and a very intense and highly busy production schedule, because this was Star Trek in the 90s. This was, you start first thing in the friggin' morning, and maybe you might leave in the middle of the night the next day or the morning.
Like, the more we hear about it, the more you're like, I think this is the thing when we talk about, like, oh, why can't they do shows like they used to, and why can't they, like, do sort of 26 episode like series and stuff, and then you realize, oh, it's because they got away with a fuck ton of like bad stuff in the 90s. Because it was the idea of, when we hear about DS9, where they're like, hey, we got the script like a day before, and then we had to be up at sort of like 5 a.m. and we finished at 1 a.m. and then we, you know, and you're just going, wow, and you were doing that like 6 days a week.
It's thanks to SAG-AFTRA and other acting unions where these practices were more regulated, because this was a case. I mean, I've lovey alert, I've worked in this industry. I've been extremely privileged to work in this industry, and I know 15, 16-hour days, they are the norm. And this wasn't like in the 90s. This was like 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. This was still going on. And 15, 16-hour days were normal. Now, in the 90s, they could get away with it because you are not done until we are done. That was the mentality. And like I said, this was 26 episodes a season that they were doing. They would have maybe 2 months off a year. Now that, you know, that might go, oh, well, they get 2 months off. That's actually quite a lot when you think about it. No. When you are doing 5 to 6 days a week, 16 hours maximum a day, it is grueling. And let's not forget,
it's like people say about teachers, where they're just like, oh, they got the whole summer holidays off, and I'm like, yes, but they don't have an evening off until then. But, you know, where you just go, have you tried like having a classroom of like 30 kids and then being able to mark all of their homework, set all of the work ahead of them, and you don't get paid for that. You don't get paid for marking homework, you know, because that's outside of hours.
And let's not forget, right? Let's not forget, right? This is it could be 16-hour days at Paramount's lot in Melrose in LA, right? That's not to include the commute time between where you live and Melrose. Now, you look at it on a map and you go, oh, it's not that far. Bollocks, right? It could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, it could be 3 hours commuting there and 3 hours commuting back to where you live. That's 6 hours on top of the 16 hours that you would do there. And if it's an on-location shoot, if you're at Vasquez, you have to be there earlier to get the bus to go to Vasquez to do that. If it's at a woodland scene, you have to go to this location and this location. Think of the logistics. Think of the logistics and go, they were so grateful that they filmed in the studio this week and not on a location, because instead of 16 hours, it could have been 24 hours plus commuting time to get there and back. And, you know, the toll that this must have taken on someone who suffers heavily with mental health issues.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I will go, I mean, I only had 2 hours sleep the other day because I was busy doing work, right? Now,
you work
imagine,
incredibly hard.
But imagine doing that 6 days a week for 10 months.
It's
10 months.
Insane,
The money's
you
good.
know?
The money's brilliant, but
then people are sitting there being like, why are all these actors all on drugs? Why are they all taking cocaine and stuff? And you're like, in order to survive their life, you know, in order to get through it's like going like, hey, why are these people drinking all these cans of Monster? And you're like, because they're working like 3 jobs in order to pay their rent. You know?
You only have to speak to our friend of the show, David, and he is an extra, and even now, he will message me, and he'll message me where it's like 3 in the morning in Canada, and I'm like, why the are you up? And he's like, early call. 3 in the morning. That he has to do that because he has to be on set by 7 and he has to do this and he does it all day. And this is 2025 in Canada when he is a union. This is why energy drinks are sold, coffee is sold. This is why these people, because you have to be honest, right? Working in TV, working in film, right? It is all gig work, right? So Jennifer Lynn could have been contracted each year, right? There is no guarantee at the end of that year that she is renewed for another year. So she has to make the most of it, because if someone says you are going to be on this episode and you get $5,000 per episode, you will be there, you will do it, you will bust your ass, right? But the toll it would take on someone who is suffering heavily with mental health, you cannot even I
mean, not to bring up the devil, but like when we eventually get round, whether it's on April Fool's Day or not, about talking about Babylon 5, it's the fact of like the effect that mental health had on the main actor in that, where they had to literally lose him. The main character of the whole show had to leave the series through mental health issues. And then they just kind of went like, oh, well, how do we rewrite this without the main guy, you know? And and it's that crazy thing, but you're just like, actually, if he was, and when it talks about what he was going through, you're just like going, how did you get that far? Like, you know, like, how did you get through a whole series? Like, when that was your mental state?
Yeah, and this was the 90s, so mental health support was... barely existent. Barely existent at the time, because
when the studios would probably be recommending drugs to you, of going, hey, you're having a bad time, here's some coke, you know, just you know, that'll take the edge off. And you're like, wow, someone who's like actually bipolar or something, you're recommending drugs, great. You know, that's gonna end badly.
And it's very sad, but I mean, we've covered Jennifer Lynn. No,
I'm loving these tangents. I'm loving these tangents. We've covered Jennifer Lynn, but
this
now we need to talk about Kez.
This was a serious on-topic tangent because you need the context of why she departed to understand why Kez's story was abruptly finished on episode 2 of season 4. And I'm gonna say, yes, it was rushed, but they did handle it rather well with the time constraints and the resources that they had.
I'm gonna say it actually works. Like what they wrote here is very good. This is the thing. All the bad things that we're saying about this, where we're talking about how the bad treatment of 7 of 9 and the bad treatment of Kez, and obviously Jennifer Lynn as well. The writing in this episode is spectacular. To whatever end it takes us to, it's a really, really well done episode.
Yeah.
And the fact that they managed to do this crazy thing called foreshadowing, where what we have here is her psychic abilities are developing way too fast for her. Like, they are developing at an accelerated rate because of her recent interactions with species 8472. Where, because she's had to deal with them in the previous episode of the end of season 3, and then basically it kind of goes, hey, that's kind of tapped this part of her, and then it's basically opened everything up. So it's meant that like she now has psychokinetic abilities, she can pretty much control matter, and and it feels natural. It actually genuinely feels like, you know, it should. If she wasn't leaving, they could have dealt with it as like a whole series arc of her sort of slowly developing these powers and doing all of that. But it doesn't feel out of place
Yeah, it
having
doesn't
this
feel
episode that
forced.
just goes bang. Like, it, you know, if she was staying around, we could have still had this episode, but had it end with Tuvok showing her how to repress these powers or control them better. But then over the course of the show, like we've talked about it before, like how I would have done Voyager would have had Kess being throughout the whole thing, but then eventually becoming the villain of the piece.
Yeah.
Like Kess basically becoming an actual, like she is in Fury, where she's basically just going, "Hang on, I'm being held back by everyone here," and becoming embittered, but because she's so better than everyone else, because
Yeah.
she's like this, and also her finite life, like the idea of going, "Oh wow, I'm going to be dead before we get back to Earth." So I'm on this trip with people, and I'm never going to actually experience it. And you know, having the end of Voyager with her as this old woman who's literally just hates everything and is wanting revenge or something, that would have been amazing. You know, rather than being, "Oh, it's the Borg." It's always
Yeah.
the Borg,
Yeah, yeah.
isn't it?
they
Even though
could
we've
have-
immediately defeated them. Like, because the point is, what season 3 does is it humbles the Borg so dramatically that it goes, "Hey, they're not really a threat anymore."
it removes
And
their
then it
fangs.
attempts to, yeah, and then it attempts to use the Borg as a threat in season 7, and you're like going, "How? Why are we
and
bringing
it's like-
these
it's
guys
like-
back?" You know,
How have you done this when we know that there is a species far more capable of defeating the Borg? Like, they could have
Yeah.
done so much more. You know, yes, they defanged the Borg in Star Trek Voyager, but they could have done so much more to say the Borg have adapted, the Borg have done this, the Borg have done that, and they didn't. Like, they are still the same old Borg, and they could have. The finale could have been Kez's character, you know, seeking revenge, coming back, and then, you know, in the ultimate redemption or sacrifice, doing what she did at the end of this episode and
Yeah.
hurling them into the Alpha Quadrant and hurling them to where they need to be as a last sort of like. She resents Voyager
Yeah.
for holding her back. She resents Janeway. However, Kez's resolution is she forgives Voyager, she forgives Janeway, and her final gift before she passes on or evolves or whatever is that she sends them back up. Because we can see here, you know, she's only at the start of her powers. She can hurl them 9,500 light years. This is her at her basic power. The end of Voyager could have been with Kez, and it would have been
you could have had the whole of Kess's arc, and you know, like we have in, what's his name, Doctor from Generations, or the villain.
Tolian Soren.
Yeah, Soren. Sorry, I was thinking of a totally different name, and I was like, "That's not it." But no,
Malcolm
with
McDowell.
like Soren, where his whole thing is that he wants to get back to the Nexus. He's willing to sacrifice everything for this selfish goal of just getting back here. So if we had Kess as that kind of villain in season 7, being like, "I just don't want to die. I just don't want to. I can control the entire universe, but for some reason I can't de-age myself or make myself less finite," and you know, have some kind of rule there, and then basically the whole thing is her coming to grips with her mortality at the end of the day, and maybe overcoming it and becoming like a godlike being, like she seems to do here, and then it doesn't do anything with it, because she's physical again when she comes back. I don't know, or making it where she actually just does die, and her last action is an act of redemption of saving Voyager. Like, there's so much you could have done, but obviously not if the actress is not able to actually film, like not actually able to carry out the job. But in this episode, I think it's great. It's great, but it's the fact that what we see, okay, now going back to our control thing, our whole conversion therapy kind of view of the episode, we have it where Kez is a different species, like 7 of 9. She's not known as a threat. So therefore, they're kind of hey, that's fine. You're not a known threat, so we
Tolerate
can,
it.
we can tolerate it. But then also, when she starts having these extra powers, they immediately get defensive. Where Tuvok immediately steps in and just goes, and she's like, I feel totally in control of this. Actually, this feels totally natural, and that it doesn't seem like anything to be scared of, and I'm fully in control. And he's like, I'll be the judge of that, and steps in and then starts going, hey, we need to sort of work out whether you're dangerous or not. Like I need to show you because I know better than you about yourself and how
Yeah.
to control these powers.
Yeah.
And then when she starts doing crazy stuff, like they have the wonderful meditation scene where he's teaching her like to control the flame and whatnot. And then she starts looking past it and going, wow, I can see into the quantum level and I can see below, like deeper than that. And he's like, that doesn't exist. That's impossible. And it's almost like, okay.
It's Tuvok being like, as ironic as this is going to sound, unnaturally logical.
Yeah.
Like too logical.
Only believing in what he can see and prove, and that when
Yeah.
someone else comes along with something, now whether that's scientific knowledge, like the fact that she can witness
She can see it.
Yeah, she can see this sort of I don't know what you call it, like below quantum kind of
Like
level. I
another
don't know what you call it.
universe below the quantum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like because she can do that, she can see it, whereas he can't. And it's almost like sort of him going, hey, this is how we do this. It's like, when you're at a job and there's someone who's been there for years and they have a way of doing things, then you go, hey, it'll be quicker if we did it this way, and they're just like, what?
Yeah.
But this is the way we do things. And it stops being about what the best way to do things is, and it starts being about, hang on, no, I don't want to change.
Yeah.
So what we have him going, hey, Kez, you need to change because we don't want to change. And that's exactly the same problem we have with Seven of Nine, where the reason why they function as a ship, and potentially going into what we said about like Ad Astra per Aspera, is the Federation an entity that only goes, hey, as long as no one changes and you all accept what is up and what is down, then we'll get on famously. And that's kind of like the sort of the strong religion, white America, straight, like straight white Christian America and stuff. And you just go, as long as everyone's like this, we'll be fine. And you're like, that's not going to last very long, is it?
The more you discuss it, the more I think like Voyager as a crew, they are Starfleet, but they are so inflexible to change when you think about it. And I go back, and this is going to be so nitpicky, but I go back to Message in a Bottle, ironically from season 4, where they make contact again with the Federation, and they send the Doctor over, and then as the series progresses, they have more and more communication.
Oh, it's not in that episode though. It's a different episode where they send the Doctor over, isn't it?
No, it's Message in a Bottle.
Is it? Bloody hell.
Yeah. Because he goes.
Because they have the Barclay fixes the array, and then I didn't realize it was called
yeah.
Message in a Bottle.
No, Barclay's not in that one. This is where they discover the Prometheus via the Horizon array. Yeah.
Sorry,
However,
I was thinking about the episode where they send the Doctor to heal his maker. Yeah.
But this is going to be the most nitpicky, analist thing I'm probably going to say in this episode. But they don't want to change so much that when they make contact with Starfleet and are in regular communication with Starfleet, and Starfleet is even giving them orders and missions, what don't they change?
Yeah.
What don't they change? They do not change the uniforms. Who never gets promoted?
Yeah.
The status quo, as much as possible, must always remain the same on Voyager. And the more you think about it, and the more you look at Voyager, you go, yeah, like it's true. Like the resistance that they had about Paris building the Delta Flyer. Do you know what I mean? And it's stuff like that. But you know,
And it's crazy to have that where we think that over the course of Voyager, like you're saying, where you were talking about in Enterprise, where they have like Archer being brought up on his crimes, being like, hang on,
they
what
pull him
happened
up on the
here?
bullshit.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, and they're like, what? And you know, he's like, I had to do it. We were in this desperate situation, kind of thing. And we have Janeway, where it's like when she gets back, she's probably gonna have. You'd expect her to have to sit in front of people and be like, wow, you gave a lot of our technology to other races.
The
You did all this, you did
debriefing.
all of that. Yeah,
Yeah, the debriefing
it would have been
been
brutal.
amazing. Yeah.
But then you kind of sit there being like, but then she doesn't. But then she has bits where she's like, no, no, I have to stick to my principles. I have to stick to my principles, and we can't do this thing that'll massively help my crew because of Starfleet. Like, you know, like we can't just, you know, use the caretaker array to go back home immediately. We can't do, or we can't do this other way to get home because it's morally wrong or whatever. And you're sort of going, where's the line? And you kind of realize that Janeway isn't. She thinks she's very sort of cut and dry, sort of like following the rules and whatnot, but then she's just making as many crazy decisions as Cisco or
Yeah.
Picard's a bad example. Picard breaks the rules a fair amount, but nowhere near as much as. There's a discussion that's a deep dive for us.
Yeah.
But you know, and it's that idea of just going, hang on, and you wonder if it's because she just needs it to be her way. Like she's very much a kind of, and in this one, like her making decisions for Seven and her making decisions for Kes, like it's almost like she tries to emotionally blackmail Kes at the end, where she's going, "I don't want you to leave," and please don't leave, kind of thing. But then everyone's in danger if Kes stays there, you know.
And you have to think as well, right? Let's. I don't want to. But let's discuss the relationship between Kes and Neelix, because Neelix is only in one scene in this whole episode, and the writers found it difficult to deal with the relationship between Neelix and Kes. And in 2025 hindsight, you know, you look at it and you go, she was like 4 years old, dude.
Hashtag space nuns. I mean, we all know that the relationship broke down because she got too old for him.
Hashtag call the Bajorans, we found a lost prophet in Neelix. But that joke will never get old. Unlike,
Wow. You nearly tricked me into mentioning Maddie. You nearly tricked me into bringing Maddie
She's in the Delta Quadrant by now. But, yeah, for these two were brought on at the same time. Yes, they were in a relationship, and we essentially get a break-up scene, and then that's it. And what really annoys me is
I don't know though, because we this was foreshadowed, because in season 3 they do have a whole her going, look, I need to go my own way and let's take a break from this, and they don't ever really get back together.
I know, but Neelix loved Kes, and Kes was so important in his life that we have this one scene and that's it. And what irks me is when Kes and Janeway are having that touching moment in Kes's quarters and they hug and stuff like that, and Kes goes, oh, you know, I need to speak to Neelix, blah blah blah, and then her change starts to happen.
No, she says, I need to talk to the doctor, I need to say goodbye to the doctor, and she never gets the chance.
Yeah, she never gets the chance with that, but we don't see Neelix again after that. And considering the importance of Kes to Neelix, even if it was just Neelix on the bridge or in the mess hall and you see the flash of light or something, just to have that closure on that part there. I think the scene with Neelix and Kes, it left it. I wasn't satisfied with it.
Yeah.
It was...
See, I don't agree. I think, you know, agree to disagree on this, because like I feel that their scene together was quite touching, where they're like a broken up couple. They've both kind of moved on emotionally, kind of thing, and they've got to this kind of what do you call it? You know, in science where it means that things are stable and they'll stay in a stable
equilibrium.
state.
No,
yeah, maybe
No, we said this last week.
I know. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, that thing.
Homeostasis.
Homeostasis, yeah, they've kind of reached this. Why can I never remember this term? But it's they've kind of reached homeostasis in their relationship where they just go like, "Hey, we're not pining for each other anymore. We've accepted that we're broken up, and therefore they're like old friends where they can talk about, hey, remember the last time we drank this wine, and remember what it used to be like, and stuff like that." And I kind of like that because that's probably the best note they can leave it on. Like, rather than going, hey, Neelix is still pining for her. The way that they have this scene, they kind of go, he's actually accepted now. He's had season 3 to kind of accept that they're and he moves on as in his own way, kind of thing. But like,
I don't. Even if he didn't have to say anything,
watching this episode out of context might make it seem that way. But I believe that with season 3, in the order that you watch it, they do feel like they kind of go, oh, they. But then again, like they never know what to do with Kes. Like, I'm really annoyed. Like, even if the actress was difficult, it's still the fact of they just did not know what to do with this character at all.
No. So how do you feel it was like the climax? How do you feel it was handled with Kes? Bunged in a shuttle, and then that was it. That's all we saw of her after she'd hurled Voyager.
It's I love the unintentional like story here that I don't think they knew they were doing, which is the idea of, if we accept that like Kes is someone who's been forced into this sort of environment where they go, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to conform to what the ship is like. The same way the Marquis had to give knee to Janeway, the way that sort of, like everyone who's come aboard, like, and obviously Neelix does. Neelix immediately goes, hey, cool, whatever, kind of thing. And then Kes also does. But then the point where she's no longer able to fit into that, and the point where she becomes a danger to the ship. And yes, in the episode we do it as her psychic powers are tearing the ship apart. What if it's not that? What if it's her ideas? What if it's her ideas, or what she represents to the crew, or her refusing to sort of be like part of things, kind of thing. That's what means that she has to leave, kind of thing. It's like, is them putting her on this shuttle and sending her out there, even though it's with her will, where she's like going, hey, cool, it's fine, I'll leave, kind of thing. Is that attitude her being Stockholm Syndrome, where she's willing to put them before her? But it's this idea of like, effectively they go, hey, you're really dangerous now, so we've got to get rid of you. Off you go. And I know they didn't mean it that way. They totally didn't mean it that way, but there's a way that you can look at the episode and see it that way. And then on the same fucking hand, we've got Janeway saying to Seven of Nine, hey, you should join our crew and you should conform to us and do everything we tell you, and we'll decide your identity and your hair and your clothes and everything for you. Look, a man's decided what you're going to wear. I know he's a hologram, but still, it's the idea of like, hey, the Doctor, who is straight in terms of his programming, has decided to make you wear loads of skimpy clothing and that you're going to be a blonde. That kind of thing. And it's all of those decisions being made for her, when she's immediately seeing, oh, but if you go too far, you get put in a shuttlecraft and, like kicked out to space. It's
the needs of the many.
That's me reading into things far too much.
No, you are absolutely right. When you think about it, you analyze this episode, that's what it comes across. If you do not conform, the needs of the many completely outweigh the needs of the few.
Hey, Tuvok can't control you, and your powers are too big for Tuvok. Well, you gotta
off you go. Yeah,
and it is kind of scary, like seeing it that way, because and then the idea of knowing what we know now in terms of Picard. Like, I'm gonna say it, like, I know we like Picard. I know we like Picard season 3, but Picard season 1 really causes problems in terms of, it shits all over the happiness of everyone, where you just go, couldn't Seven have just joined Starfleet? Wouldn't that have been nice? Wouldn't that have been great? And then it kind of just goes, wow, after everything she goes through in Voyager and the journey that she goes on, she even fucking sleeps with Chakotay, I think, and that's, ooh. and a holographic one as well. That's probably more endowed. But it's the idea of
It's
something
it's
about
the
his
writing
people.
it's the writing at the time where they were going, hey, we need to be more edgy and we need to see that Starfleet isn't all great and everyone gets shit on, and it's like, you don't really understand what Star Trek is.
But that's it. It's like
do you?
it's the fact of the anyone, like, you know that thing where you kind of just go like, you know how we talk about nuance, where you just go, hey, you don't go, oh, the plot line's about like transgenderism. You don't do that with Trek. You go, hey, the show's about these aliens who have this identity, and blah blah blah, and then you sort of Trojan horse the allegory,
Yeah.
the subject in, so that
Yeah.
people kind of can see it in a different way, in a different context that still makes it as relevant. But then, like, the whole let's make Starfleet into the bastards, and you're sort of going, that was already there. That was
They
already
could
there
have they,
as
they
a
could have
thread
admitted her. Yeah.
through DS9 and through all of that stuff of going, oh wow, actually, yeah, if you're not inside Starfleet, then it is a bit creepy and culty, you know?
They could have admitted her under Janeway's recommendation, but then the difficulties that she had, say, with Shaw as her superior could have been better translated, and with these difficulties she mustered her own way out of the service because, she was welcomed into Starfleet. However, people like Shaw, who are survivors of Wolf 359, cannot get past their prejudices against the Borg. It would have worked a lot better, but with season 1 of Picard, it's just like, nope, how many? 5 seasons worth of 7 of 9. Yeah, it was just shit on, because as soon as you came back, they were like, Borg, nah, we're good, bye. And then that was it. And it was just like, more detail, please.
It's unbelievable, but I think that's the thing. It's like the Starfleet that we see in season 1 of Picard. You're like, how did we get here? Like this seems like too much of a leap from what we had to get here. You know,
I mean, but we can see that there was conspiracies and people in charge, blah 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 blah. But it's like, they are not in charge of the whole of this organization. So Starfleet as a whole is a bit of a bastard. So who is to blame? Who's done this wrong? And yeah, it could have been dealt with so much better. But like I said earlier, the return of Voyager should not have been the end. They should have dealt with the consequences of Voyager's actions. They should, even if it was just a friggin' mini series or something that dealt with the consequences, the ramifications of what happened in the Delta Quadrant and what happens to the crew. What happens to 7 of 9? What happens to Janeway? Because as far as we can see, Janeway did all of these morally questionable things in the Delta Quadrant, even in lower decks, where they're going, holy shit, Janeway didn't fuck about, right? But Janeway is promoted to Admiral because of the 7 years in the Delta Quadrant. So you're going, well, hang on then. So Starfleet's looked at that. They have read her logs. They have gone through a debrief and they've gone, you made this decision. You violated the Prime Directive. You gave these alien species technology. You did this. You did this. Congratulations. Here's an extra pip.
But here's the thing, though. That's exactly what we had in Ad Astra per Aspera, which is the idea of when Nira brings up is it a captain or an admiral's track record and goes, hey, here's all of your breakings of the rules or whatever, and yet you're celebrated for it. And it's very much this idea of going, if you break the rules and you succeed, then they're willing to overlook that you broke the rules a lot of the time. And you're sort of going like, this is not the way it should be, like, and it's the fact of Janeway gets celebrated, Picard gets celebrated, like
Kirk gets celebrated.
Kirk bloody hell, Kirk gets celebrated. And like Cisco, like, it's literally like, you wonder. Sorry, we're massively off the topic here, but do they know? Do you reckon Starfleet knows about the events of In the Pale Moonlight? Like, where you know that weird thing, because it's like,
No,
you're just
no,
sitting
no,
there being
no,
like,
no.
do you reckon there's an admiral somewhere who's just kind of like going, hang on, the Dominion didn't kill that senator? Like, and you just wonder about that because you wonder if
We,
maybe they are just kind of like, well, we got what
but
we
we
wanted out of
know,
it.
we know from season 1 of Lower Decks that conspiracy theories are rife in the Star Trek universe because Wolf 359 was an inside job. But
I love
do you know
that
what
so
I mean?
much.
Yeah, but again, it's there. But getting back to the episode, so I think we've successfully covered Seven of Nine's arc and Kes's final departing arc. I love this episode. I think this was a great choice to add to the Dabble Wheel of Honor because, like I said, it is a good episode, but it is an episode where, upon retrospective review, has major issues in its
But that
writing.
doesn't make it bad. It
doesn't
means
make
that
it
we
bad.
can discuss stuff. It's the idea of like some of the choices that we've got in the Dabble Wheel aren't the episode that you'd be like sort of, oh, that was the most exciting episode or this
Yeah.
was that. It's the idea of like we had with Ad Astra. It's episodes we can talk about and episodes where we can sort of go, hey, look, there's loads of meat here underneath the surface. That's the most cannibalistic thing I've said.
It makes us question the very morals of the Federation, the very morals of Starfleet, Star Trek, real world people's decisions, and this is why we have picked these episodes, and you will see in the other episodes that we've got in the Dabble Wheel of Honor. It's like, hey, like, for example, similitude. That is like, how far are you willing to go to save someone's life when you are actively cloning that person just to murder them?
Yeah.
Do you know what? And it's
there's so many topics that we can bring through the discussion of Trek, and that's why I love doing this podcast because it allows us to sort of talk about social stuff. Like, it's the idea of it hasn't felt right for me to talk about feminism in regards to Kes and Seven of Nine. Like, I've touched upon it in terms of how they're treated, but in terms of the idea of going, we can liken this to modern society where we literally have like, oh, sorry, I'm talking about video games again, okay? Insane shit, okay? Like, and where there's loads of people online who are angry with the Silent Hill 2 remake, okay? Because they made Angela look a bit less attractive. So they basically made Angela, they've done the whole thing where they've kind of given her a bit of a sort of blockier face or whatever. And the whole idea is just going, yeah, that shouldn't really matter. That's like, why is that a deal breaker for you? And they'll shit all over the game, and they haven't played the game. Like, if they played the game, they would have gone, oh, this is actually fantastic. But they've gone like, nope, that's not right. They've messed that up. And oh, why are they all trying to make all women all ugly all the time and stuff and whatnot? And you're sitting there being like, this is a weird hill to die on, everyone. Like, but it's that idea of going, why the fuck do you decide that? Where you're sitting there being like, oh, the creative director was a woman and she decided that's what the characters are going to look like. Right, cool. Shut up, everyone. That's how everything works. That's how it's always worked. That's why fucking Seven of Nine is wearing what she's wearing, because fucking Rick Burnham is a man and went, this'll do. This'll get people on board. And yet we've got a society that hasn't been able to adapt the other way of going, like, when we have queer people in positions of creative endeavor, and like we have women in positions of creative, like rule. I don't know, I'm losing all my words. And then people are just like, oh, I don't like this. And it's like, well, they put up with your shit for like 100 years of cinema, So that's me being harsh. But I'm just sitting there being like, fucking hell. We can have a trans main character. Shut up. The gameplay's great,
Do you have any further notes on The Gift?
No, I think we're fine. Like, I think what we touched on, stuff really upsets me in this episode, such as the idea of obviously her giving in at the end and going, right, this is the only way I'm going to survive, isn't it? Okay, well, I'll try and remember that little girl, but I don't really care. It's the fact that she coalesces at the end. She acquiesces. Sorry, she acquiesces at the end, and she just goes, "Okay, well, if I must." And it's a depressing end. It's not a choice from her. It's a literal kind of, oh, well, I don't have a choice. But the surgery stuff is terrifying. Like, imagine that in your life. Imagine you had a situation where someone decided for you stuff about your body. And this is the abortion issue that we get. This is the issue that we have with like trans kids and stuff, where you've got people being like, "Hey, you don't know what's good for you. You don't, you're like." Janeway literally has a fucking line, which is until she is ready, someone has to make the decisions for her. And you're
What
like,
makes
well,
it you?
who decides when she's ready? Oh, it's you. That's convenient. So you're the person who decides when she's ready, and you're also the one who gets all the decisions. That's like going, hey, who's the person who decides who gets tax breaks? Oh, the rich. Oh, right, okay, that's an interesting.
We're definitely
caveat
not.
there.
We're definitely not seeing that at the moment.
Yeah, but you're sitting there being like, oh, that's interesting. That's like going, wow, the wolf is the person with the key to the chicken coop. Okay, well, or the fox. That's a better example. And has opposable thumbs in this crazy example. But stuff like that where you're just going, that is creepy, like it's creepy, and then and then Seven has this amazing line in it, which is when Janeway's justifying herself, and she's like, look, you need to do this because you need to fit in. There's no other options. You might not like it, but you have to do this. And then she just says, then you are no different to the Borg.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's literally the Borg come along, they assimilate you against your will, and they make you conform, and then you get used to it, and then you work to survive in that society. Janeway is no different.
Yeah, swapping one collective for another.
Yeah, and she was like, but I was fine. Like, yes, she had no autonomy. Yes, she had no, like, identity, effectively. But people can choose that. It's like the idea of just going, hey, someone might come home from work and just decide to just, I don't know, watch TV all night. You can't just be like, oh, you're wasting your life. It's like, not if they're enjoying it.
It's their life to
it's like, that's what being human is. And yet Janeway's kind of going, just lose these tenets of it. Oh, sorry, it makes me so angry. And it's why I love Janeway as a character, because she is so nuanced, and so many people like this. Like myself, like, it's the fact of, like, I'll talk about, hey, we need freedom for everyone, and we need to be kind, and we need to be, like, empathetic to everyone. But I'm pretty sure there's situations where I'm like, nah, mate. There's going to be situations where I'm like, nah, I don't like that at all. And you're sitting there being like, oh, everyone has boundaries. And I think that's the nuance of Janeway, where she's a bitch, but then she's lovable, but then she's someone you'd want in a crisis, and she's just well-rounded, I think, as someone in a very difficult situation.
She's not clear-cut, she is grey.
Yeah, and that's it. And then people talk about, oh, Sisko's dodgy because he's, like, evil, and you're like, they are all... Picard is this, but Picard is very subtly this.
Yeah.
Sisko is very obviously this, and Janeway is, like, because she's a kind person. Like, I've said it before, I had a boss a couple of years ago that was basically Janeway. And looking back, I'm like, I think she was a terrible boss. But because she did it where she went like, oh, I'm going to be kind to you, like, I'm going to be soft with you, and I'm going to be like, oh, are you all right? Are you all right? Are you fitting in okay? Okay, we'll have a bit of a laugh kind of thing. And you're going, that's fine. But then at the same time, you're sort of sitting there being like, hang on, she hasn't done anything for me. Or like, actually, this thing is still failed. Or actually, and you're sitting there being like, wow, and because it was done in this kind of way. And that's how I feel about Janeway. And I kind of love that she's that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I could talk forever, so we need to stop. But the surgery stuff freaks me out. Like the surgery, like it's horrible.
It's like peeling an onion.
That's the joy of Star Trek, and that's why I put the gift into the Dabble Wheel of Honor. Have you got anything that you want to say about this episode?
No, I've pretty much said it. I am going to address our lovely audience now, because what do you think about the gift? I want you to leave a comment down below. What did you think of it? Do you think Janeway was right? Do you think it was 7 of 9's decision to make, not Janeway's? What about Kess's resolution? Kess's exit? Do you think she deserved better? How would you have liked to have seen Kess played out? let us know in the comments below, because we do love a good old discussion with you lovelies down in the comments below. But
If we get enough comments, we will readdress this in a future episode where we will bring it up and be like, actually, can we change our opinion on this based upon it? You know, that's what we need. We need discussion between everyone.
We will do a review and we will bring you onto the adequate and we will discuss it with you. Right there in the pants. I see you.
Dad?
But that was that was our review of Star Trek Voyager's The Gift. I love it when we get into the nitty-gritty of an episode like that. This has been fantastic.
It's like 3 hours or something.
It's 1 hour, 50 minutes, 32 seconds.
Hey!
However,
technically under 2 hours. Okay.
However, we're not done yet. We are receiving an incoming transmission.
Incoming transmission.
Put your pants on. Welcome, everybody. Go on, say it.
No, you don't even need to change it. You don't even need to change it. Usually we kind of go, oh, piss, we should have planned for this.
Welcome.
We need another scene, which is the double wheel of honor and the double wheel of shame, to make it easier for you, I think.
I don't have time to make another scene that takes 30 seconds. Shut up. Welcome, everybody, to the double wheel of episodes. If this is your first time watching Trekkin Up North, first of all, welcome. Click that subscribe button and hit that like button, which should have glowed as I said that. The double wheel of episodes has every episode of Star Trek in existence programmed into it. However, at the moment, we are going through a little trend. We have the double wheel of honor, and then we have the double wheel of shame. And the challenges that we are set every week determines if we spin honor or shame. And because we are two really crazy guys, we successfully beaten Sean's challenge like I will probably beat him the next time I see him.
I was so confident we would fail. I was so confident, you know.
No, I will drive up to Trek Culture. I will find him.
I'm gonna kick him in the shin. I'm gonna kiss him, but then kick him in the shin.
I'm gonna
next
kiss
time
him.
I see him.
I'm gonna kiss him, and then 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 HR's gonna get involved, and then I'm gonna kiss HR. Anyway, we are going to spin the. If you listen really quietly, in Ireland, a man is weeping. The double wheel of honor. The double wheel of honor is the wheel that we are going to spin today. What we do, we spin this wheel. When it lands on an episode, we shout at the top of our lungs, double! Double! And whatever it lands on, we will review in the next episode of Trekking Up North. As this is the double wheel of honor, Science Officer Synoiz, what are you hoping for?
Now, I'm not going to be boring, because the last 2 times I've said the drumhead. Because you mentioned it earlier, I think I'm going to go for similitude.
Oh,
it's an Enterprise episode, but it's a meaty. Ooh, it's a spicy meatball.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Do you know? So Mrs. Captain Goodwill is part Italian, so.
Which part?
Yes, I believe the left knee. I'm going to agree with you. Don't you dare! She'll murder you 7 times before you hit the ground.
Joke's on her. I'm sick of living.
Joke's on her. Joke's on you. That's her king. I'm going to agree
Death
with
is
you.
her king.
I'm going to die. I'm going to agree with you, though, and I'm going to say similitude as well. It is an episode that I have deliberately not watched for 15 years.
Yeah.
Because every time I watched it, I got unbelievably upset, because this is the joy of Star Trek. It can make you feel an entire range of emotions, and for a very cheap science fiction television show, molto bene. So we both agree that we want to see similitude. So I'm going to load up the dabble wheel right now. Are you ready for me to spin, Synoiz?
Yes, we are ready. We are ready.
I'm going to do the quiz show. In 3, 2, 1.
Getting ready for dabble.
Double!
Oh, original series.
The Doomsday Machine.
Am I gonna have to dress up as Dr. Chaotica again?
No, you can dress up as the Doomsday Machine if you want. I
may not have seen this episode in a very long time.
What?
So I will remind myself.
Could you dress up as Commodore Decker? Just like get a really grey beard and just not sleep for 3 days and just look like me.
With how my life is at the minute, that's very plausible.
Oh my goodness, we are going to be reviewing the original series episode, The Doomsday Machine. This is we covered this in the Dabble Wheel, and I actually featured this as a YouTube short because this is one of the earliest episodes of Star Trek that deals with PTSD and deals with the trauma that one suffers from a tragic event. And I absolutely love it. And it's quite funny because is this the episode that you put in the Dabble Wheel of Shame?
No.
Oh no, that was Balance of Terror. That was Balance of Terror.
Balance of Terror I put in the Dabble Wheel of Shame. I have a feeling I'm going to come to regret it the same way as I did with Emissary. But the Doomsday Machine, I can't remember. Is it late on or is it season 1?
Oh, this is quite early. This one, I think this is.
Yeah,
I'll do the synopsis.
I'm a terrible director. I hands up. Like I'm terrible with the original series because there are literally some episodes that I haven't actually seen.
So the Doomsday. This is a classic. This is a literal classic Star Trek episode. So the Doomsday Machine. It is season 2, episode 6. The Enterprise discovers a weapon capable of destroying entire planets, and a Starfleet flag officer whose crew was killed by the machine jeopardizes the crew on a crazed mission of revenge.
Oh,
This is a good one. Computer, take us back to 2-person mode. Sound effects.
Just the two of us.
So next time on Trekkin Up North, we will be reviewing the Doomsday Machine from the original episode. It's been a while since we've done an original series episode as well.
It has been it feels weird though because I have been watching a lot of the original series.
You have.
I have just because it's one of these things where it's the whole. If you don't like something or something isn't to your liking, then you basically. If you keep watching it, you get used to it. It's why we keep joking about having a rewatch of Babylon 5, because
it's coming.
It still hasn't sunk in yet.
It's coming. It'll be the highest rated video on this channel, no doubt, because algorithm. It has the number 5 in it.
I'll have a revolver with me just for Russian roulette. Just be like, this is how we get through it. After every season. But it only goes up to maximum.
This one goes up to 20.
20. Mine goes up to 11.
Does he? Because 11's greater than 10. Spinal Tap.
I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm excited to see what happens, and it'll be great that we can talk about it because, there's a lot of great examples of PTSD. What's the amazing episode that David was in from Strange New Worlds where it talks about Umbenga and
Under the Cloak of War,
Nurse Chapel? Yeah, that is such a good episode, and it's great that we have these episodes there.
It was the highest viewed. It was. I will give you the exact figure. Under the Cloak of War was 395 million watches.
Wow.
Under the Cloak of War.
It's just so good.
It was level with those old scientists. Like Star Trek Picard is 400 million for The Last Generation, and then the next one that is not even it's close, but it's like those old scientists in Under the Cloak of War. Ad Astra has got 2
Yeah.
million less than Under the Cloak of War. That's how good that episode is.
But then again, Ad Astra's fantastic. That's
This
still a lot of
is-
views for Ad Astra.
this is, I mean, the Doomsday Machine is an award-winning episode. So
Was it Hair and Beauty though?
Nail Tech of the Year award?
You know that thing though where someone said to me like, "That's an award-winning movie," and I was like, "For hair and makeup," I'm like sitting there being like, "You can't use that for like watch this movie."
It was nominated for an award. It was nominated for a Razzie. But no.
But that's
so,
the weird thing with the Oscars, isn't it? Where they have the Oscars and it's just like, isn't like Amelia Perez won like awards, but then isn't it also going to win Razzies? And you're like, it's fun that it can be on both lists. It's
It's oh, fire engine's just gone past. I must be that hot. But no, that has been our review of The Gift from Star Trek Voyager. I would like to thank my delectable Geesian from the planet Honk, Science Officer Synoiz, for joining me once again for this remarkable episode of Trekkin Up North. If you are not already subscribed, please click that subscribe button and tickle the old bell. Caress the bell.
Oh my.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling. And obviously like this video. If you like the content that we produce, we are part of the Nerdy Up North group, whose details can be found in the description below, such as the Facebook group.
Check out Monsters Up North because they're doing some absolute bangers right now. They've covered so many great movies lately. They had Nightbreed the other week, which is an incredible horror movie.
Sammy and Dan are just knocking it out of the park at the moment with monsters. So please give Nerdy Up North a follow. All of our friends down below, Captain's Quadrant, Search for Trek, which is me, Trek Culture, Clone Star Podcast, which is celebrating their 3rd anniversary, and they've just done a tremendous interview with Brannon Braga, where he did talk about Star Trek Voyager and the whole Jerry Ryan issue. So please go check out that interview down below. Adam Ashry's music is down there, as well as someone called the Velvet Snatch, who is currently covering Drag Idol. So please go check out their videos.
I just put out the new episode today when we were recording. I just put out this week's episode of it. It's an hour and 9 minutes long.
An hour and 9 minutes? What are you trying to do? Compete with me?
It's ludicrous, but but just imagine, when I look back and I'm just like, wow, in like 3 days, I managed to sort of write, act, film, and edit an hour and 9 minute thing in addition to having a normal job.
You should work for South Park.
You're sort of going like, well done me, but I'm very looking forward to the end of Idol. You know that thing where the competition this year is so incredible, and I advise you all to search for Snatch Talk on YouTube and follow along. But it's so incredible that you don't want it to end because you just want to stay in this family of contestants and keep watching this wonderful show every Sunday. But at the same time, I'm sick of my life, like having to do all of the work behind the scenes. But we are so lucky to have such a rich drag culture in Newcastle and the northeast of England. So I'm very proud of it.
Wonderful. I mean, to be part of the Velvet Snatch's life is just magically exhausting because I don't...
Even though whenever you're directly part of it, all I do is bully you and moan about stuff.
You shout at me, you belittle me, you said I belong in prison. I'm just like, Other people would call this domestic violence. I call this friendship. But yes, please check out the Velvet Snatch YouTube channel down below. Our contact details are trekkingupnorth@gmail.com. If you want to submit a challenge to us, send it to that email or reach out to myself or Science Officer Synoiz directly. Our contact details, our socials are down below. But without further ado, this has been Trekkin Up North. He has been Science Officer Synoiz. I have been Captain Goodwill. Take care of each other, stay safe, live long and prosper, and as ever, Miles.
Miles.
Miles?
Miles,
Miles?
fetch the doomsday machine.